Welcome back to the Final Credits, where today, This Is 30 is going to talk about the best Batman movie ever in theaters.
Yes. Yes. Let's talk about it. Let's talk. Please.
All right, guys, welcome back. And as you can tell by Big Grim's reaction,
Yeah.
someone's excited about this movie.
Yeah.
You know what, Grim? Take it away. Actually, before we start that off, hold on. I'm just going to give you guys some numbers because apparently I'm the numbers guy now.
You are the numbers guy.
Apparently so.
Yeah.
So anyway,
break out that calculator.
Just so everyone knows, this movie came out back in 93. It had a budget of $6 million. And guess what? It only made, worldwide, it only made $5.6 million.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Now,
there's a big but.
Spade.
It was at the time when VHS and
Nope. Let me cut in here for a second. Let me cut in here because while it's not the best reason, it does kind of have a couple of things behind it. You look at the marketing for this. This thing had barely any marketing behind it whatsoever. The one trailer that was released was basic as fudge. It was Batman, the Joker, a little bit of Phantasm, and then the title of the movie. That's it. This thing had nothing behind it. Also, the third thing behind it, it's animated in a time where animation didn't mean squat to anyone unless it had the little mouse in the corner pulling all the strings behind it. Unless it was Disney, no one cared about animation. In fact, Ebert and Roeper, a very famous couple of critics. Who
Never heard of them.
Yes. Have, well, you should. Their stuff is great from way back in the day. A pair of very famous critics. They openly said on their show that they missed Mask of the Phantasm because of the poor marketing. And they openly said, we saw it recently and we missed the premiere and we made a big mistake because this movie is terrific. Straight up. Why is it terrific? I'm going to go into it right now.
Go ahead.
So,
guys, just take a back, relax.
Yeah,
and
guys, no problem. Kick up your feet, grab a cigar. I will weave a tale for you. The beginning of the movie opens with a little bit of like the 3D deco action that we were starting to get at around the same time for any of the fans of the Spider-Man animated series, like that 3D animation of him like swinging through New York. That's kind of what we got here for a hot second, but we only see this in the beginning of the movie because the storytellers of the movie were the same writers behind the animated series. They knew exactly what they were doing. They didn't need any of the new fancy stuff. The budget mostly went into, obviously, drawing everything like how they did for the animation, just on a better budget. That beginning of the 3D Gotham. And the best thing about it, the score. The late Shirley Walker managed to put her heart and soul into this score. We got Gregorian chanting. We got singers for this. We got violins. We got...
Dude, that was one of the most epic openings I've ever seen. Right, it was. I love that opening. I'm so glad you like just mentioned it, like gave like a section to that because like off the bat you watch it, it's like this is freaking amazing already. Already this is just like 10 out of 10.
There are times that I just go on YouTube, look for specific scenes. I don't watch them. I put them in the car and just listen to them, or on Spotify. I download the entire soundtrack. You can find it on Spotify. But going into this, before we actually started getting into this, Johnny said that there was some that this was meant to be like the origin of Batman. We did see a couple of flashbacks in this movie of how Bruce Wayne did
like year one.
get his start.
Yeah, like not even
year, like not even year one, like week one.
Yeah.
Like
well, not just an origin story, but like from what I've heard, it was originally supposed to be produced as a pilot, like feature film to the series itself. Like that was supposed to be the kickoff to Batman the Animated Series show. But I think I don't know. Like I said, I could be wrong, but like from what I've heard, that's what it was like intended to be. But I think it came out later on, like a year
I think
after.
the reason why is because throughout the whole movie, you see shots that are in the opening of Batman the Animated Series. Like when he squints with his eyes and he's looking at it.
I love that.
Oh yeah.
Like you guys said, the Art Deco type Gotham going on
Classic.
in the background. Like
okay, so let me get into this.
All right,
so
let's go.
Batman the Animated Series. First off, this is an awesome loophole that we can talk about, like an extension of that series in this way. Batman the Animated Series is one of my favorite shows and best shows period of all time. But the fact that they did a movie release for this is unbelievable. This movie still holds up. What I love about this, like we've talked about in the past, like, oh, superhero movies are better as TV series, but with the animated series, it wasn't always a week-to-week story. It was the villain of the week. So with the movie, it reversed that, and Batman, the show already pushed the boundaries of network TVs for a quote-unquote children's show already, but with this, they were able to loosen the gloves more. They were actual... I mean, it was still shown off screen, but they acknowledged there was murder and death, and Batman was bleeding from. Batman was bleeding. Joker was bleeding. We seen it in other incarnations of Batman, the origin story, the fight between being Batman, the fight for the greater good, and the love. Something we saw later in the Christopher Nolan Batman Begins, but the origin story for the animated series was so well done within this movie. Go ahead, Grim.
So, basically exactly as you said, the show itself, obviously it was meant for kids. We didn't get a lot of that, but we took risks in Mask of the Phantasm. There are certain scenes in here that still make me want to like clutch my arm every time I see something happen. Like, oh, that man just got stabbed. That was terrible. My God. We did actually see, and this was a big thing for the early 90s, people die in animation. And they did truly die. And they acknowledged it. Not like, oh, he was knocked out. No, he's in a coma or anything. He had a heart attack. No, people died.
Yep.
And it was kind of great. I want to... Okay.
The graveyard murder was gruesome. In my opinion,
yeah.
Like, even though it was technically off screen, like when the guy gets like the statue dropped on him, you hear the sound of his body getting crunched by it.
We see that. We see a man in a car accident go over a building and into a parking structure. We actually see the Joker kill someone with the Joker toxin. Finally,
right.
That was
speaking of which. Another reason why this movie is iconic for me personally, the cast.
Of course, that's why it's the best Batman, the best theatrical Batman.
They kept everyone from the animated show. They knew exactly what they were doing. Some may say Christian Bale is the best theatrical Batman. I say nay. The best theatrical Batman is Kevin Conroy. Some say Heath Ledger is the best Joker. I say nay. Mark Hamill is the best theatrical Joker. And this is my reason behind it. I stand by it. And it, oh God, the way how they just go right into their roles, it's amazing. Guys, if you keep talking and let me talk, I'm just going to gush over this movie. And that's it. Like,
Spade, how about you?
You know what I really liked about this movie? I like the fact that, to be honest, even as a kid and watching it as an adult, okay, let me rephrase this. When I was a kid and I found out who the villain was, I was like,
yeah,
right? Like when you find out who the villain is under the mask, right?
Yeah.
Now,
that's the thing too.
As an adult,
this is like a 3-way mystery too between Batman, the Phantasm, the police, the Mafia. It's a 4-way. So many things were happening within an hour and a half, or an hour and 40 minutes. Versus some movies today, where you have 2 hours and you're like, "When's the thing gonna happen? I'm bored already."
Yeah.
No.
So, like I was saying, I was trying to say that as an adult watching this, I'm trying to piece together if there's anything prior that can tell you, like, hey, this was her being the Phantasm, you know? You can't find anything. Like, it is like really
one scene. Good. There's one scene where like it just hit me. I was like, oh, maybe the flashback where he's doing jujitsu and he's like mansplaining jujitsu to her, and then she flips him over her head,
right? But
and
that
says
still
like, "Oh,
doesn't
I've had
mean anything though."
Right. It's so subtle that it just goes right over your head, and if you don't think about it, it'll never hit you.
Not really enough to do that, because
it's not. But that's the only thing you could
around
say.
That time too, in any other kind of like story, movie, anything, where could also be seen as like, oh, you're like, the main character's girlfriend. You're also a tough woman then. So that it was kind of standard for around the time. So it's something that could be easily overlooked, but I get exactly what you're saying though, Johnny. Absolutely, I agree.
What I also loved is that she wasn't somebody from the comics. She was an original character created for this movie, and then I think eventually later DC put her in one of the comics.
But that's how good the animated series was, because it did that a lot. Harley Quinn.
With Harley Quinn?
She's not a comic book original. She came from this show.
Not at the time. She was made because of the animated show, and she became beloved ever since. But to pick up on what Pancakes also said, the Phantasm, they actually did use a little bit later in a later project going along with the DC animated series, which did include Batman, Superman, Justice League, and even Batman Beyond. Because we actually see, yes, we do. We see at the end, I believe it's the season 1 finale of Justice League, we do see a grown-up Terry McGinnis about like talking to Amanda Waller, and the whole fact of like, we're trying to create a new Batman because Bruce Wayne is getting old. So how do we do that? We kill his parents. How are we going to do that? With a murderer. That murderer happened to be the Phantasm, and I loved every second of it.
Remember that now.
Oh, that's right. I got to go back and watch it.
Yep. That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Fun fact, when I heard Andrea talk, I'm like, that voice looks familiar, realizing Dana Delaney, who went on to do Lois Lane on Superman animated, the Superman animated series, another great voice actress in her own right. But I'm like, and in a later Batman Superman crossover, he has a fling with Lois Lane, so he gets with a Dana Delaney character twice, or at least tries to.
Listen, Kevin Conroy gets around.
Small world.
There is one thing that I promise it's probably going to be the last thing. I'm probably lying about that, but
you are absolutely
there is at least one thing that I can think of that I really enjoyed. We didn't get a full explanation behind certain things. Like, some things were still a mystery, even at the end. What I mean by that, how the Phantasm managed to disappear and reappear throughout the smoke in certain things. We never got a reason behind it, and I kind of love it. I love that it's still a mystery.
I know the answer.
Don't burst my bubble, Spade.
Because comics. That's what it is.
Oh my god!
Listen to me, guys.
Son of a gun.
When you guys can't get a clear-cut answer as to why something happens in a comic book, movie, show, animation, or anything, why? Because comics. That's it.
That's why the
answer.
Imagination. I like Johnny's answer better.
That's why the Joker had the mysterious superpower of always surviving these massive explosions, and he'll be.
I'd like to ask you guys this real quick, because it's been going around online for a while now, and I don't know if you guys would have anything to compare to, at least in the animated series, but people are saying the final Joker laugh in this movie is the best Joker laugh of all time. What do you guys
have to go back and compare them all? I don't know.
I could definitely think of one, and I think it was honestly in the Batman Superman crossover in like the giant flying like smile. But again, that's
sure we can find a compilation video of of animated Joker laughs on YouTube, and I'm going to find that video and share it with all of us so we can make our own decision on that.
I guess the one that comes to mind is then when they finally turned Killing Joke into a movie release, and Batman and Joker have that infamous sharing of the laugh, and you hear more, but it's Mark Hamill still doing the Joker. No, honestly, not that one. But but when they have that share moment of doing a psycho laugh, it's still Mark Hamill doing that Joker, different incarnations. So that's one that comes to mind.
Oh, I know the scene you're talking about. Yeah, and honestly, like that's probably the only animated movie, or honestly, the only Batman thing to come close to Phantasm, in my opinion, is the animated. I think so. At least I thought that was so well done. Return of
it's very well done. I'm definitely not going to nitpick.
Honestly, my only issue is they spent $5 million or $6 million, whatever it was. I feel like, where did that money go? To be honest, like it still looked like a regular episode of Batman.
The lines were a lot darker. The animation was significantly more smoother. You're also putting it into that 3D opening that they had, which costs a lot at the time, plus all the music that it went into. Because as opposed to just like a couple of instruments, now you have an entire symphony doing like
that's true. That's true. You got a point there. Yep. So they paid the whole orchestra to do it. Got it.
Pretty much, yeah. And at the same time, I'm so happy that they did, because the music in this slaps. Probably like I would put it as iconic as the score to Jurassic Park. There, I said it. I'm sorry.
Ooh, wow.
Bold statement, but can't really argue too much. I see why.
But to go back to what you just said just now, and you mentioned at the top of the video, she did an amazing job on that soundtrack. Like it captured each scene so perfectly, so well done. And I can see why you could put it up against a John Williams, a score like a Jurassic Park. I mean, that's hard for me to. I get what you're saying, but it's hard for me to make that comparison.
There is one scene in particular that I'm just going to talk about musically. It is unfortunately when Bruce does get dumped by Andrea and does make the ultimate decision to become Batman. He's getting ready. He looks at the mask, and we finally get that iconic da 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 as he's putting on the mask.
So
Alfred's face, and then Alfred's face when he first sees him wearing that mask.
Get the first official Batman squint. I'm like,
yeah. And Alfred legit says, "Oh my god!" Like that's another thing. Yes. Like they were saying shit like that in this movie too. So it definitely wasn't just for kids, man. But I think there's only like one thing I can say about this movie is that it's pinnacle. It's pinnacle Batman, in my opinion.
Well, that's the thing.
Because this is what because it's like the show, the animated series itself, like it broke ground, it broke barriers in so many amazing ways for its time, and I feel like this movie took all of that and just dialed it to 11. Like everything that the animated series was great for, this movie did perfected.
More than that,
every way.
It actually had you can think of like almost any element of Batman, and this show has it.
Yes.
You want the Adam West kookiness? We got it in here. You want the zaniness of the comics? We got in here. You want the seriousness that Christian Bale took from this? We got it in here too. Because another groundbreak, this was made for kids. But there was something in here that adults could appreciate too. And the fact of Bruce Wayne begging his dead parents that he lived a happy life because of a promise.
Yeah.
That doesn't mess with someone psychologically. Like you have no soul.
And now we know why Batman is always brooding, why he's always moody. That's why, because he can't have that happiness that everyone else wants, because he made a promise that he's going to be vengeance.
You know what else I
Martha,
loved about
where'd
this
you
movie
get that
too?
name?
You know what else I love about this movie too, and kind of like the animated series in general, is just it nails like the noir tone so fucking well. Like it has like that like pseudo 40s noir in the 90s type of style that I just
timeless
eat up from like that time period, like the early 90s noir, but like kind of 40s like classic noir type of look. I don't know how to perfectly describe it, but like the animated series in general just always like set the freaking bar for that. And this movie did it again. Like I said before, this movie perfected it.
Go ahead, Grim.
Big Grim.
I know exactly how to describe it. Timeless.
Timeless.
Straight up timeless. Because
yes.
this could take place in like any kind of time period with the gadgets, with the cars. Yes, it is a quote unquote older setting with the blimps and the cars and everything, but it's iconic at this point. It truly is.
Okay. You know what made me go, oh shit, when watching it? When they were at the World of Tomorrow or whatever that science thing was.
The World of Tomorrow.
World Fair, basically,
and he sees the Batmobile.
Yes.
Yes.
I want that.
He sees that and he's just like,
I could use that.
He took inspiration from that. I love that. I love that then, deep down, no matter how much he never wants to admit it, Bruce Wayne is a little bit of a nerd.
Of course he is.
But like I love how like Andrea was trying to get his attention and he's like, oh, sorry, my mind was elsewhere. And he's like, bro, you're fucking looking at a car. We all see you looking at a car, bro.
Yeah.
I thought that was hysterical.
That's probably my favorite Batmobile, which is obviously taken from Batman '89, which is my favorite live action Batmobile. One of the few things they got right in the Flash movie for a quick moment, but I digress. But that for me, that's the de facto Batmobile right there. You know, it's tied in with the de facto Batman. Now, shift gears for a quick moment. There seemed to be some debate amongst the creative team of whether or not the Joker was going to be in the movie or not, and I don't know how different the movie would be. Sure, it would still be good, but Batman fighting just mobsters, I feel like you have to put the Joker in, especially to see the chemistry between the late great Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill. So
can I be that guy for a second? And I'm not saying this in any way that it's a detriment, but I feel like you could have taken Joker out of this story, and for the most part, you could have gone without him in this. Like he kind of was like that secret boss level of like a reveal, but like the main conflict was Batman versus the mob versus the Phantasm, and like that whole it was a triangular conflict, and then I guess you could say like he was put on top of that Joker,
but they tied Joker
100% needed there. From what you're saying, it makes sense to me now that maybe he was not like an afterthought, but he came later on in the production. That they're like, okay, we want him in here. How would we fit him in perfectly, or as perfectly?
But they found a smart way to tie it in. They did a partial Joker.
Yeah, I'm not saying it was badly done. I am not saying it was badly done at all. But I'm just saying I could tell if there was any part of this story writing that might have they added anything in. At a certain point, it probably was the Joker side of the story, in my opinion.
Well, Johnny, here's the thing, though, because now you have to see things from another perspective. There's a psychopath out there finally snapped and killing our own men. How do you get rid of a psychopath?
Right.
Yep. Pay another psychopath to take out the first one.
It's a great strategy. I am totally. That's what I'm saying. It's not that it was badly done. I'm just saying I could tell that like Joker wasn't a day one write-in, in my opinion.
No, I feel like he was. I honestly feel like it was, because the entire thing of this movie is one big mystery, and it really is how are we getting from A to all the way over to Z, and we managed to figure that out. It just happened to be that we had a monkey wrench called the Joker, who
but that's you know what it is. This is what it is. And you're right, because he is like not like a distracting, but he's like a monkey wrench. Just like he's like the chaotic evil that's just like doing whatever the fuck he wants, and he's kind of like saying "dance monkeys dance." But like in most, you know, like what people would consider like a lot of like pinnacle level Batman stories, they always dive into like that psychological connection between Batman and the Joker. Like one can't exist without the other, the yin and the yang, all that stuff. The Dark Knight Returns did it, the Dark Knight did it, movie. And I felt like Joker here was kind of scaled back in that role where he, like I said, he was more of like a top secret boss level of like the rest of like the conflicts going on, where he was just kind of controlling everything for his own fun. But we didn't get more that deeper psychological thing going on between Batman and Joker that we do.
It's funny that you mentioned that though, Johnny, because granted, yes, the comics also did it, but for the most part nowadays, where do you think all those other projects got that idea from? The animated series.
Oh yeah,
because that's how like you always come up with like Batman versus Joker in almost anything, live action, anything in like comics or stories. Now it all comes back to the original comics, but even then, people look more at the animated series now for like references than the old school comics.
100%. Yeah,
it's that iconic.
Yeah, it was a new era for Batman.
One thing the story reminded me of, and this is not a bad comparison in any way, it's a totally different story, but still the concept of a mysterious serial killer kind of reminded me of Long Halloween in a way. Was that the one with the holiday killer, right?
Right.
Somebody dying on a different holiday. So it kind of reminded me of another epic Batman story that was well done.
Right,
and
but
they did.
Right, but this came out years before the Long Halloween.
I think the Long Halloween the comic, right?
Right. The comic came out late. It's called the Long Halloween.
Right, that came out in the late 80s, I believe.
No.
Let me check on that, but
let's say
I'm almost positive the Long Halloween did not come out then.
96 to 97. Okay, I'm confusing it for Killing Joke. I'm confusing it for
Killing Joke came out in the 80s.
Way before this.
Right. Yeah. But I kind of reminded me of a similar concept. But yes, they did it first with this animated film.
So that goes back to what Grimm said. They took all the ideas from the animated series and made them into movies and into cartoons and into comics and everything like that. But yeah, so anything else you guys want to bring up about this? Except for you, Grimm, because you said too much.
I think it goes without saying, but does this movie stand the test of time? I think the consensus is yes.
I think we are all in favor for this.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to say anything anymore now, so
you can nod your head.
I enjoyed this movie even more as an adult because seeing as 5 or 6 year old, I wouldn't have fully understood what was going on. I think you have to be older, and it was made for our generation. Now we're older, and we see it through adult eyes. I love it and appreciate it even more, and it's timeless and classic.
You know what? Notice how much more perverted the Joker is in this movie?
I'm sorry?
Everybody's perverted in this movie.
Notice how he was a little bit more perverted in this movie by slapping the robot's ass and saying, "Oh, I'm getting turned on," but then we got company coming over.
Yes.
Yeah.
We had a borderline.
You could get away with a lot of stuff. That's my logic with that.
We had a borderline sex scene in this movie when like Bruce Wayne is literally on top of Amanda, like like kissing her, and then like what happens next when the camera.
Oh no, yeah. Alfred walking in twice saying, "Oh my," and walking away.
Oops. The hors d'oeuvres can come later.
But listen, that's what we hold on. Before we go to our outro, Grimm, is there anything else that you would like to tell us?
I would like to argue with Pancakes for a hot second, saying that this wasn't just made for adults. I feel like this was made for kids, but in a way, it's going to sound cliche, but this is like one of those learning things that TV shows made for kids of how like you can get smarter from watching this. Like it wasn't afraid to show us adult elements, and it may have made some kids smarter. It may have scarred them. It may have made the future goths of the world. Which one do you fall under? Let us know down in the comments below.
And with that said, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. And other than that, we are out. Roll credits.
We are Roll credits. We are the night.
We out.
Final credits.